Good evening, race fans. Welcome back to another exciting week of Sunday Night Skippy Racing action. You are joining us live here at virtual Interlagos, where we will be running Skippy Formula 2 first, and you can see qualifying well underway for that, followed by our Skippy Formula 1 later this evening at around 9-10 p.m. Eastern. But first things first, let's get into the action. I'm joined tonight in the booth by last season's Skippy Formula 2 champion, Peter Lee. Peter, how are you doing tonight?
Hi, Chris. I'm just really excited about tonight's race. I have great memories, and this is such a great racetrack. Can hardly wait to see what happens.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites for sure. I think the first time I ran it not that long ago, it was a little intimidating for me at first, but once you get to learn kind of the flow of it, and whichever car I was able to run it in, it just became an instant favorite for me, and I look for any excuse to get on the track here.
Well, this is one of those special tracks that works, seems like, for almost any kind of car. It's not just Skippies, but, Formula One. It's been running here since the 70s. It's great there. It's great for GT cars. Just about anything you want to run here, it just creates great racing.
Agreed with that. I think one of my favorite races here was in the GT3, as a matter of fact. But yeah, also some open wheelers and what have you. So can't go wrong. Let's focus here now on qualifying that's ending. We're joining just a little bit late, but as you can see, the grid has been established. And congratulations to Oliver Hartley with a 151.932. He will be starting on pole. Joining him on the front row is Andrew Cole, followed by Michael McLeod, Jake Ashe, Dan Pagowski, Rafael Bofil, Ian Worrell, Rusty Pottenberg, Nick Tullo, Rich Butler, Joe Zubovich, and Robert Longatano. So we will have a 12-car grid for the race tonight, and I'm excited. Do you have any early favorites going into the race there, Peter?
Wow, just 4 weeks in, it's such a battle. I'm surprised pleasantly to see Oliver Hartley up there. This Chilean contingent involving Oliver and Rafa Bofil, they've been showing some real speed. So maybe it's the night for South Americans tonight.
There you go. And to your point, the competition very quickly has tightened up in the Skippy Formula 2 series, and any given week, obviously Michael McLeod doing amazing things here, but I mean, really, a couple things go a different way, and I don't know that at any given week that there's a technical favorite going into it.
It's I get a little frustrated because I was with all these guys last year, and they are all faster than me now. I don't know how that happened.
I guess you got out on a good time there, huh? Get your championship and
right.
Move on. That's too funny. Yeah,
but seriously, the speed that they've all found, is crazy. And
I don't know what the numbers are, but I do figure a lot of these drivers are involved in the coach mentee service that we offer, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it, but hopefully that's part of the equation for how everybody's getting so fast. But here we go. The lights are out. Oliver Hartley does not start.
Oh, wow. What happened there?
Either technical malfunction or asleep at the wheel, But you can see Oliver falling back quickly. That's going to let Andrew Cole starting on the front row there. Oh, and we've got trouble further back.
Yeah. Turn 1 is really the most dangerous part of the track. It's at the end of a long straight, the start, cold tires, and, expect to see a lot of action going into turn 1 all race long.
So there's Dan Pagowski there trying to save it, but to no avail. It does look like most everybody else is going to make it through okay for the moment. Let's bring up your race information, and we'll get rolling. So you can see there Andrew Cole and Michael McLeod really, actually, Jake Ashe, I guess I would consider him as part of that top threesome there. There's your podium, and they've worked quite a gap back to Rusty Puntenberg. About 1.7 seconds is what I'm showing right now.
Yeah, Andrew and Michael, had that huge battle at Suzuka, and then or at Okayama, and now Jake has just been showing steady results and really in the mix at every race also. And so this is, if they stay together, this will be a real battle for the whole time.
Right here, you can see Ian Worrell and Nick Tullo going to blows. Ian's gonna send it real wide there, but gets a nice runoff. A little further back here to go 3 wide. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. It looks like Rafa Bofill, Barry Stockdale, and Robert Longatano really making the making a wide track, not so wide there for a little bit.
Looks like tires are still heating up here.
Indeed, you can see there Oliver Harley after a no-go on the start.
So Michael's in the pit lane. I wonder, that brings in fuel strategy here, because with fuel, you can almost make this on one stop. And maybe with enough drafting and other help, you can actually do it. And I wonder if Michael's thinking something about that.
Interesting. I know he was talking about that earlier. We had a small discussion. He was really keyed in on fuel strategy there. So I am very excited to see how this turns out, if his math is right. And putting himself on such a different fuel schedule than everybody else is going to make things real exciting here coming toward the end of the race. Great battle back here, ultimately for that 7th spot. We've got, yes, ultimately the battle for 7th there. Once again, Bofill leading the pack, but Stockdale, Worrell, Hartley, Zubovich, and Longatano, looks like they have settled things down just a little bit, but Oliver Hartley really trying to make his way back up through the field here. Obviously, he has pace tonight. Just going to be a matter of if he can. It's one thing to be out in clean air and be able to control your pace, but attempting to pass folks, especially guys like this, is going to make things very difficult on him.
Yeah, he's really sticking his nose right in the rear end there of Ian. It's he'll get a great draft here and be able to slingshot around, which is exactly what's happening.
Looks like they made just a little bit of contact wheel to wheel. Ian's front wing there a little messed up. He's going to be dipping into.
He's going to pit. Yep. And again, that could work out fuel wise. Quick.
Sorry, Jake Ashay's off. And he's stuck. It's going to lose him a lot of time. Yeah, we saw that last week with him. He had a lot of pace, but ended up with just a few off tracks that really set him behind, and was able to, finish well and end up well, but.
Yeah, he has so much speed, but he likes to do it the hard way. So, back to Michael McLeod and all his math, I wonder how much of that was coming from his coach, Kyle Reed, because I know he was really thinking about this. And, what you were saying about the coaching, all these guys are getting some pretty amazing coaching. And I know they were all pretty keyed up for this one.
Yeah, this is, a fan favorite and driver favorite for a lot of people. I know that, to your point, a lot of the public races have been kind of messy because what you were saying there, cold tires and just how long and sweeping these turns are. It's easy to collect people, but I know everybody looks forward to league night to try to avoid the majority of those shenanigans. And really,
it looks like Rafa is really zeroing in here on Nick for that last podium spot right now. And it'll be interesting to see if he can get a good draft coming up the hill here.
Let us ride along. Oh, he's lifting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And this is where turn 1 is so dangerous, right here, side by side. You get so many 2 wide and 3 wide situations going into T1.
Well, lap time's improving for everybody, but your leader, Andrew Cole, setting the purple lap so far tonight. So he's well out front now by 6.6 seconds and climbing. The obviously the big question on everybody's mind is how this early pit stop. Oh, and Oliver's gonna smoke it.
Oh.
And he and Jake Ajay just cannot buy a bucket tonight.
Back on the coaches, I know Andrew Cole and Carter Stickney are both working with Mike Bowers, and you can just see, just week by week, how much more consistent and fast they're getting. Andrew's getting super strategic also on track, and I think a lot of that is probably due to Mike's coaching him.
I think that's one of the things that Sunday Night Skippy allows for is, who's that off there too? Is that looks like 48 Rich Butler. Okay. Yeah, strategy coming into play where you might not get it otherwise, and I like that there's a cerebral, kind of wrinkle to the races here, both in the Formula 2 and Formula 1 races.
Looks like Oliver is trying to make the pass on Rich. Got it on Nick. Whoa, and they come together in T3 and T2.
Yeah, that's tough. That'll be one for the stewards to check out. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. You can just imagine what's going on in Oliver's mind there, though. He's anxious to get back up on that podium.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be frustrating to start on pole and then, end up toward the back of the field. Still not sure what happened there. Usually I try to monitor the iRacing chat, but I was having some issues tonight, so flying blind, or at least more blind than usual. So, speaking of trying to work your way back up, Jake Ashe now on the back of Dan Pagowski, who himself was off track earlier. So, probably still a lot of time left in the race, but still anxious times here for these drivers as they try to take a deep breath and put some hot laps down and work their way back up. Maybe consider what their fuel strategy may be to separate themselves from the pack. Dan gets just a little loose. That's gonna stack him up.
It's impressive to see, Nick Tulo. I know he got past him that last lap, but he's running fourth. He's up 5 positions. He's having a good run so far. If he can stay consistent, he has a good shot at a podium finish here.
Checking in with Michael McLeod here too. Remember lap 1, I believe, pit stop. So currently sitting 18 seconds behind the leader in P8 right now. Keep your eyes on that number 15 car and setting the purple lap now, taking that away from Andrew Cole. Oh boy, man! I'll tell you what, you called it there with turn 1. That's going to be interesting. It's been interesting with 12 cars on the grid when we throw 30 plus.
I'm thinking about SF1 and I'm scared for turn 1.
Oh boy! All right, well, let's give Andrew Cole his due. Kept the nose clean so far, and 6.4 second lead for him. That's come down a little bit since we last checked in, but not by much. So, Phil still trying to maintain the consistency and work his way back up. Very tough. We know how fast Andrew Cole is, but
right.
Yeah, that's.
On Michael McLeod, it's super interesting because with that early pit stop, if he's only 18 seconds behind, if he can do the rest of the race with only 1 stop, all the rest of these guys have 2 stops coming. It's going to be super interesting to see how this works out.
I am a fan of this because I don't know what's gonna happen. I can't even pretend to pontificate on this. But we know he's got speed, we know he's got pace. It does not appear that he is having to fuel save at the moment. He's obviously feels very confident in the decision
Yeah,
that he made. So the
he's back up to P7. That's pretty good.
only thing I can think is if he was, I don't think he was serving a penalty. I could be wrong about that. Oh man, Jake really exploring the space there with that tip wall. You can see how close they
Here
get to
goes
it.
Michael's trying to make a move here, and T1 and gets underneath Jake. Nice clean. It's good to see a clean pass in T1.
There you go. So now he's got a solid 7 seconds up to Joe Zubovich. You can see there all the way down the front stretch. And trying to keep working his way back up, but he's cut that lead down now to 15 and a half seconds. So clearly taking chunks out of the lead that Andrew Cole has.
Maybe a quick shout out to Jake's coach, Justin Rebello. And so it'll be interesting to see if Jake can try to take the position back on the next go around in T1. And then it's impressive to see Dan Pagowski, get after his early mishap. He's all the way back up in the mix here, and his coach Jeffrey Decker, I know, has been really working pretty hard with him.
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of the best lessons to learn is getting involved in those early lap incidents and maintaining that mental focus because you just never know what's going to happen. Who's to say that everybody else isn't going to get involved somehow? And if you've already taken yourself out of the race mentally, you're not going to be able to capitalize on that. So
Yeah, for me, if I have a mishap because that I can blame on someone else, I can channel that anger into faster driving. Oh, here we get Jake coming into the pits. So we might get some early idea here about what happens here. But when you make your own spin, it's just so hard to feel good about yourself, and so you have to be really mentally tough to try to get back in the flow of things.
agreed. Well, it looks like it's working for him because Dan Bogowski is now with the hot lap of the evening. So
Oh
they're
wow.
just passing that title around one by one. So got a fire lit under his butt, and he's going for it. Right now, we're here with Nick Tullo and Joe Zubovich for that fourth position. Both these guys up 5 and 6 spots, respectively. So great evening so far for these two drivers. And we are, let's see, Barry Stockdale's in and out. Jake Ashe's back out. Rusty Pottenberg had pit earlier, same with Rich Butler, although I think that was due to the incident. So probably a little forced pit strategy there.
Mm. So it'll be interesting to see if, with Daniel Pagowski tailing behind Michael McLeod, if Daniel's going to have to pit here for fuel soon.
I feel like I missed something because Oliver Harley now in P3 is right on Bofield's gearbox there. I don't know if like that gap was much wider before, but I'm just not seeing anything.
And these two Chileans, Rafa and Oliver, they're actually making time on Andrew. It looks like Oliver just got past Rafa Bofill.
Oh, for a second.
Oh, what a battle.
He really wanted that. He's going to have to claw his way back to the gearbox there. Try it again. Turn 1. Very difficult to pass. So there we go. And of course, you can see on the screen there more takers down pit road. So this is really starting to shake out here as far as fuel strategy goes.
Last year, when I was racing here in SF2, I was so tempted to try to make it on one stop, and on the last lap Thor Tulo and I we chickened out. We both decided we needed to take a splash of fuel, and lucky we did, because I think Carter Stickney and Andrew Cole, who stayed out, sputtered and ran out on the last lap.
So I'm sure Andrew's got that firmly planted in his brainstem right now. And he's probably not going to be taking any chances with that.
Wow, and yeah, so Michael's up to 4th now with his early pit stop.
Yeah, got inside of 14 seconds now up to Andrew. And so he's, I mean, whether that was a penalty, serving a penalty or not, I mean, this guy is really got a chance, even if he does have to pit again. I think he's just been taking chunks out of that lead lap after lap. I need to figure that out, actually. I'm going to see if I can scour the Discord here real quick.
Well, while you're doing that, it looks like Ian and Joe Zubovich are also on the move here, and they're up to 6th and 7th already. And it's here we get the 2 Chileans coming into the pits for their first fueling stops. Andrew Cole as well. See who comes out first. And here we go. Andrew's out. And looks like Oliver is going to beat Rafa Bofil out of the pits. So a change in position there from fueling.
Their time on pit road, 1.12 seconds difference there. That's the difference that allowed Oliver. So 1.12 seconds faster in the pit box, 1.12 seconds less fuel than Rafa Bofil, though. So keep that.
That's going to create a conversation between Rafa and his coach Jason Weiss, because Jason, they talk about this a lot, and Rafa is being spotted by Pim Luth, his teammate, my teammate, and that's a big. That'll be a harsh discussion later.
Interesting. Well, I think Oliver at the moment has the raw pace, as we saw, but that's not the only thing that you need to finish ahead in this particular race. So Michael McLeod now 14-second lead, basically swung the 14-second deficit to a 14-second surplus. Although you can see already Andrew, and Michael McLeod's going to be coming down pit road. So, yeah, that must have been a.
So now the question is, will this be enough? Is this his last stop? Because everyone else out on track probably is going to need a second stop. And it looks like Ian Worrell is also coming in.
Oh, really locking it up there. Maximizing that time. Cloud's back out.
A little further back in the pack, it's nice to see Keith Lee. He's made up 3 spots since the start. He's having a good run so far.
I don't know why I wasn't showing up before. I feel like I didn't call his name. Both he and Rusty there. Interesting. Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. So up 3 spots there to P12 and having himself a good night, I'm sure. I don't know what happened to Rusty.
Yeah, he must have had some incident earlier on. The for both Oliver and Barry Stockdale, they're both having good races right now, and I'm sure their coach Jonathan Dockery, and I think Joshua Dancy also helps out coaching with Barry. They're going to be pleased to see this if they can keep that up.
Movers and shakers throughout the field. Let's look back here. I believe, so Joe Dubovich out front now of Nick Tullo. Both of these guys also having great nights, up 5 and 2 spots respectively. You can see Dan Pagowski really getting there onto Nick's gearbox and see what he can do. We're coming up now on the long straightaway, which in the Skippy is basically Daytona Talladega with the draft package. You're just punching a big old hole through the air there, and see Dan trying to pick his spot.
And here we might get a 3 wide coming up into T1.
There it
And this
is.
is the nicely done.
Oh boy, look at that. I can't believe they made that stick. It's nice with the warm tires, I guess. They can actually throw the cars around a little bit more.
Almost looked like a little drifting competition there.
Right? Well, it ain't over yet. These guys are, this is...
Now here, T4 is another place, where that underneath move that Daniel just made can really work well because, the guy on the outside can bail out. It has a way to avoid any kind of contact. And so, in this league where we're all so respectful of each other, it's not a bad thing to try once in a while as long as you have overlap.
I do apologize. I did not have the chat up there. We do have some folks checking in. Appreciate it, guys. I'm actually paying attention now, so there you go. You can chat away. All right. This is, I think, the best battle that we have going on for the moment. Let's check real quick here. Keep your eye on Cloud. 12 seconds back now from Andrew Cole. Michael McLeod last pit on lap 10. Andrew Cole on lap 9. So they're roughly the same fuel strategy at the moment. And the only one, so Jake Ashe pit lap 7, as did Barry Stockdale. I believe those are the earliest, because Rich Butler pit on lap 8, or I'm sorry, on 5. But like I said, I believe that was damage induced. So
right.
Lap 7, I do believe, is our first purposeful, let's do this, let's pit. Ian Worrell, Michael McLeod on lap 10 are your latest pitters. Take that back, scratch that. Rusty Pottenberg on lap 11. Just to give you an idea of where everybody was at. And actually, while I'm telling you all this, I can just bring it up.
Looks like Michael's making up some good ground on Jake Ashe for 4th. It'll be interesting. Michael might just be happy to catch Jake's draft if he is on a one-stop strategy and just cruise behind him for a while.
Not a terrible person to draft behind. These guys
Yep.
have just shy of 8 seconds though to work their way back up to the podium spot there. But you can tell, I mean, it's not like there's a ton of separation right now between the top 3. I mean, obviously this camera's a little zoomed out here, but you can see all 3 of them in the same shot. They're all within eyesight of each other here, really trying to chase each other down. I've said this many times before, but I'm more envious of Oliver and Rafa at this point because I'd rather have the rabbit to chase instead of Andrew, who's out there and he's got nobody to race but himself at the moment.
No, I'm totally with you. It looks like Jake just had to dive in for what should be his second to last stop for fuel.
All right, so he was one of the early pitters, and that is playing out. Robert Longatano also working his way down pit road. And we can look at some. Here's Andrew.
Man, I have to say these guys are pulling some fast times. They're in the mid 151s, which is really good, and they're they're racing hard. That does not speak to fuel saving.
Right, exactly. That's a great point. So, yeah, clearly nobody doing the old, trying to drive a hybrid, uh, you know, Sunday afternoon driver here mentality. They are all full out right now. Um, sorry, I got a little distracted there. On my layout, I get to showing the top speeds that everybody hit, and it was showing me that Rusty Pondberg had hit 140 miles an hour, which I gotta doubt a little bit, but I think it'd correct me. I was wondering if it got launched into space or something. Seems like exit velocity for Skip Barber, 2000.
Well, with the new damage model, I think your wheels would fall off.
That's true, exactly. I become a bobsled real quick. Yeah, look at this. So Oliver now inside a second, which I do believe is within that draft cone, if you will, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yep.
Rafa
Yep.
Bofill not that far behind um, Oliver. So this race really becoming interesting. Michael McLeod, 11.2 seconds back. You can see him there, and in the far distance, we've got Dave Kowski and Nick Lowe. Joe Zubovic down pit road now, so quite a difference of opinion on which lap everybody should pit on. It's super interesting going forward. We are 28 minutes into a 35-minute race. Presumably, obviously, this being the last pit stop for a lot of these.
Talking about lap times, I looked up the lap record, which is set by Valtteri Bottas in a Formula One car, which is 110.5.
Just a touch faster.
I was trying to imagine what that would feel like. It's so fast.
Yeah, it'd probably going from the Formula One car to the skip, you'd probably feel like you were in quicksand to some extent. But
It looks like Oliver's definitely caught Andrew's draft coming up the hill. He's gained another couple tenths. Chris, do you know, have they had their second pit stops, or are they still due?
so these two have not. I don't believe. I've got the pit laps up there. These are all not lap 9, lap 10. There's Jake Ashe, your you know, 2 pit stop leader at the moment, and he is a solid 34 seconds behind Andrew Cole. Obviously, make some of that time up.
By the way, the other thing that's interesting about this track is it's sort of American style in that it goes counterclockwise, like God intended.
Yeah, it's. I was reading about that. There's not. I didn't. I guess it's just not one of those things I really thought about. But it's very true. I guess that's not super common. I was reading that it's actually interesting because the forces on the, especially F1 drivers, to your point, when they're going that much faster and you get all those G forces, it's a little bit different when a lot of them are going the other way.
Yep. All right, we're coming close to the end here. So about 2.5 minutes left in the race. And I'm sitting on pins and needles to see if Michael can get to the end. It'd be hard to believe that he can, but everyone will be calling him and his coach, Kyle, math geniuses if that works out.
Yep, absolutely.
And here goes Andrew into the pits. No, he faked me out.
Probably trying to fake Oliver out there too to get the.
Yep. for a little back, the battle for P8 is gotten really tight between Joe Zubovich and Nick Tullo.
Also, the battle here for P12, you got Rich Beller involved in that early incident. Rusty, not sure what happened, but gonna lock up that left front a little bit. But these guys, not probably the evening that they wanted right now, but still, any race is a good race where you end up getting to battle somebody for position after 30 half an hour in the car, and obviously
Oh,
not.
they're fighting hard, and they're turning some really great lap times, and so they haven't given up on anything for sure.
Try to salvage just a little bit out of an otherwise disappointing early start to the race. But yeah, this is, hopefully they're having as much fun as we are enjoying watching them, because yeah, you're right, it does, they cut it so close there on that pit entry. It kind of looks like they're going in. Speaking of going into pit road, there is that
This might be the white flag lap, and it looks like Andrew and Oliver have stayed out. Oh, Andrew gets a wiggle out of T1. That gives Oliver the chance to get around him.
So there is a big draft in this car, but it's also a momentum type car. It's tough. You don't have the horsepower to just stand on the throttle and make up for wiggles like that. Oliver getting a good run and have the momentum going all the way down the straight here. Might take another lap for him to catch back up. I do think we may have one more, but we will see for sure shortly. Your point, battle for P8 here. Looking real good.
Yeah, this is a track where if you're behind, like that, like the way Nick is behind Joe Zubovich, you're just looking for a chance to set up for a, just on this straight or on the uphill straight, just to set someone up for a pass using the draft. And you don't want to do it necessarily here if it's the last lap. You want to wait for that uphill straight just so that it's the last chance.
Here comes your leader, Oliver Hartley, followed closely by Andrew Cole. They're going to take the start-finish line here. So Michael McLeod's still 11 seconds back. I think ultimately that early, what I assume penalty, serving that, going to be the end of it for him as far as... Oh, Rafa Bofill into pit road.
Yep. Couldn't quite make it, and this is where you need to kind of make a bet here. And looks like Andrew is slowing. I wonder if he's starting to sputter.
So there you go.
Yeah. And it would be just like last year if Oliver starts to sputter. And I was in exactly this situation last year and won the race, taking that splash of fuel that Rafa is doing.
He's done. Andrew Cole going off the racing surface.
That's going to kill him 2 years in a row. That's happened to him at this track.
So keep your eyes here. Look at this, Michael McLeod. Look at that gap coming down. Oliver really just trying to pedal it.
Oliver is sputtering. He's sputtering. And Michael gets around him.
So after all of that, we've got 61 there, though, making it a little interesting. But here we go, the 15 of Michael McLeod, just as soon as I had ruled him out. There you go. What a crazy twist.
And now the question is, what about Rafa? Is he going to get around here? And Daniel Pagowski. Daniel also has a shot here, very good shot at the podium finish.
So congratulations to Michael McLeod. He's gonna come across the start-finish line as your race winner. Oliver Harley out. That's gonna leave Jake Ashe passing Dan Pagowski, and they're having a race. Looks like Dan Pagowski's out. Is Jake gonna make it? Unreal.
And
Unreal. All right, does look like he's got some speed.
Looks like Jake has got it, and then Daniel. Oh, Daniel doesn't quite have enough.
Ian across. He's gonna take the final podium spot. Holy cow! Who would have thought? Great battle here. Nick Tullo, Joe Zubovic going down to the line.
Yes.
These guys have been battling all night long. There's the start-finish line,
and it's too close to call.
Woo! Looks like Joe's gonna have him by a nose. 0.01 seconds is what I'm showing the interval between those two. So ultimately battling for P5 there. Great race. Rabalongatano coming home in 7th. Who else is? We're just waiting for the session to go official. Rich Butler, Rusty Ponberg, technically still out on the track. There you go. Is the battle for P8.
And there we go.
And that should be it. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was awesome. I love that. That was so fun to watch.
What a wild finish.
I cannot believe what we just witnessed.
And we were not believers that Michael could pull it off with that first lap.
No, I mean, ultimately, it looks like it ended up being a boon for him. It worked out great. So, congratulations to Michael McLeod. And yet another Sunday night Skippy Formula 2 victory here for him tonight. Jake Ashe in second. Ian Worrell will bring home P3, that final podium spot. Dan Pagowski, Joe Zubovic, and Nick Tullo put on a great show for us tonight. Robert Longtano, Rich Butler up there in P8. Rusty Ponberg, Oliver Harley, Andrew Cole, Rafa Bofill, all unfortunate victims of fuel strategy. Keith Lee, Barry Stockdale, and then me, because I got to join as a spectator, not as a driver. So I'm down 19 laps. Oh boy. Well, what'd you think overall?
I mean, what great driving. And seriously, it's 2 wide, 3 wide through T1, just all sorts of great passing. And and you have to love the strategy. I think it's just great at this track.
Yeah, that was a. I hope. I mean, Formula One race is going to have a lot to live up to after that. Guys, just really trying to push it, and roll the dice. And I just think that's. I'm sure we're sitting here super excited about it. I'm sure they are less so, but it was a lot of fun to watch and some great battling. So great fuel strategy and great racing between a couple of the drivers throughout the field. All the way. So with only 14 cars on the grid, just a ton of action. So,
yep. All right. Well, I'm going to go jump in my car and get ready for SF1.
And we are going to go on a little bit of a break, and we will work our way back here and watch you. Good luck in the Skippy Formula 1 race, and we will see everybody back here in about 10-15 minutes or so.
I'll make sure to take enough fuel.
Sounds good. That sounds good. Now you know. Don't mess it up.
Yep.
All right. See everybody in a little bit.
touch on left.
Welcome back, race fans, to Skippy Formula One. Thank you for joining us for the Formula 2 race earlier. It was a nail biter right to the end. Now we turn our attention toward the Skippy Formula One drivers as they get ready to lay down some hot laps here. Qualifying well underway and a nice large grid for this evening's action. Joining me tonight, we've got quite a booth actually. Pete's back with us again. How are you doing, Pete?
I'm doing excellent.
Outstanding. And Skippy Formula 2 race winner, Michael McLeod's joining us in the booth. Man, how are you feeling right now?
Pretty good. I'm like shaking from the whole thing.
Well,
I don't think I'm gonna be able to sleep tonight.
I was gonna say that had us all on the edge of our seat. I cannot wait to pick your brain about what that was like. Very, I would say, very Mobratin-esque to work your way back up to the field after being well behind early. And joining us later will be Jason Bice, League admin, and feel a little under the weather today, so can't wait to get his perspective on Interlagos here as well. Plenty of actual good drivers to give their perspective instead of listening to me yammer on about nothing. I'm super excited about it. I will work the cameras, and we'll be all right with that. So let's get rolling right now. I will bring up the qualifying results as we tick down to 3 minutes remaining in that session, lone qualifying session. And in the meantime, yeah, so tell us about the first race there. And we were lacking in a little bit of information, admittedly. We saw you go into the pits on lap 1, and then after that, just kind of talk us through what happened.
Well, I just sort of calculated it out with the fuel strategy that pit lap 1, pit lap 10, and it just sort of worked out because I took less time in the pits. I sort of learned that off of something Pete had said the other day of fuel savings, and it helps in the pit stops. And so I thought I'd try that out, and I guess it worked.
I would say so, to very good effect too. Obviously we know that you have good pace, just generally speaking. I think you've shown that, but now adding that, pit strategy, arrow to your quiver there, I think is going to make you even more dangerous moving forward here.
Yeah, I hope so. Can only hope so.
So I don't know, Pete, if you were tuning in there, but Michael obviously a fantastic fuel strategy to end up winning the race. A couple drivers sputtering around, and he was able to easily make the pass there. You must be proud.
I am. Chris, we're starting to see that with a lot more drivers as they become more well-rounded, looking at overall race strategy. How can you gain time in ways other than sheer pace, and seeing that all through the field this season. It's really great to see. I hope we get to see more of it.
Well, I'm wondering if that's going to translate over here to the Skippy Formula One race. We do have, I think, 38 drivers, maybe 39, that'll be gridding up here. And so that adds a little extra element, whereas we had 14 drivers for the first race. Obviously, the turn or lap 1, 2, maybe 3, difficulties with the cold tires may come into play, and some people may have a plan going into it, but it wasn't Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth or something like that. I feel like that's gonna be in full effect here.
Yeah, I can almost guarantee we're going to have fuel saving come into massive effect here. Now, last week, I had mentioned this is one of my favorite tracks because of how much battling opportunity there is, how you can go side by side around this whole track. But more likely, and what we see in the official races this week, this is another huge draft track. Everything from that penultimate left, on up to T1 is a massive draft straight, right? You're in fifth gear forever. And in fact, we saw some really interesting races in top split with some of the folks that are in this race tonight, Edwin Valerino and some others, where it ends up being what Sammy Bridges had dubbed the slow race, which is the race to see who could be the slowest and not be ahead when he came around that second to left corner, because the draft is so strong. Now, in this league, with the point structure designed to discourage sitting back and only gaining fuel, right? We've got those bonus points that we keep talking about are so decisive in the championship points by the end of the season. It's giving up a huge advantage to sit back, let somebody take the lead, and draft all the way down a massive straight like that. So I think we'll see a lot more giving and taking, a lot more sharing the lead, but I would still expect a lot of fuel strategy to come into play. There's a whole lot of time spent in top of fourth up through fifth gear, which is where you can get the maximum return on that fuel saving, and these guys know how to use it.
Well, the grid is set, as you can see Jason Weiss giving the briefing right now. Congratulations to the aforementioned Edwin for grabbing that pole position. Chris Herrera is going to start on the front row with him, and as we're scrolling here throughout the field, you can see the rest of the drivers here tonight. Obviously, Jason Weiss there in P39, not racing. He will be joining us in the booth, so 38, 39 drivers will be out there tonight. And I wanted to point out there, if you saw it, for the viewers, if you saw it while we were scrolling through, a lot of those Skippy Formula 2 drivers, they're solidly in those, P20s. So starting the race, pretty high up in the mid pack, and having that practice, just having done the Skippy Formula 2 race, I think I'm going to be really watching them and seeing how it works out.
Pretty cool. Up in 16th. Pretty good.
Not a bad way to start a race. Real quick. Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to just ask Pete, with this track being so drafty, with all the different things on this track going on, what would you be looking to maximize and try and do to take a win for this track?
Right, that's going to depend on how the packs shape up, right? The big danger here with this track is getting pack separation, right? You don't need to be particularly quick to stay with the pack here, but if you're on the wrong side, the wrong end of somebody going wide and you're behind them and you end up getting separated in the pack, you're not getting caught up, right? So I might actually, and hopefully none of the drivers are listening to this, I might play this a little bit more aggressively on the first lap, because of how much draft there is and how critical it is that you don't lose contact, right? Normally I'd be comfortable sitting back, anywhere in the top 10, puts you in a pretty good position. But with the slightest little mistake here, almost guaranteeing that everybody behind the person who makes the mistake is going to get cut off from the pack ahead, I want to increase my odds of being ahead of wherever that mistake happens. So the first couple of laps, I would probably attack it very, very hard, and then move into fuel saving, try to pick up the bonus point where I can.
Real quick, I just want to give a shout out. We've got Team Dancy and Team Bell checking in, and good to see you all once again. Always a pleasure, and hopefully we can see some good results here. I know, after last week we had some really exciting racing for both of your teams, and hopefully that continues on here at Interlagos. Real quick, it looks like we might be wrapping up here shortly. I just wanted to get Michael's opinion here on which of the Skippy Formula 2 drivers that who are you keeping your eye on for this race, having just raced with them.
Ooh, put me on the spot here. Honestly, I think Andrew Cole's gonna do a number in this field. Looking back, I think that Raphael, he may have qualified much lower, but he's consistent. I think he's gonna do himself well, stay safe, and work his way up the field as well.
Solid picks for sure. Pete, you got your eye on anybody, maybe mid-pack or back, that might surprise us tonight?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Max is always one that I've been kind of keeping an eye on this season and last. If he can lay down that consistency, I mentioned taking a few more risks in the first couple laps to avoid getting stuck in the break, right? So to not be forced into losing contact because somebody takes a little bit of a mistake ahead of you. Max might be well suited here if he can pick up a couple of positions in that first sector through T4 and get himself a good run, into the top 10 or so by the time we get through the first few laps. If he's able to do that, I think he's my dark horse pick to score a solid top 10.
Right on cue, we're about to see the lights go out and Barney drop the green flag. The drivers of Sunday Night Skippy are on their way down to the first turn there on the cold tires. Let's see how this works out. So far, so clean.
Hey, it looks like a very nice start for the field. Looking back, we do see quite a bit of 2 wide, 3 wide, a lot of jostling going around in that mid pack, but I'm not seeing smoke. It's looking like everybody pretty much found their position and working their way through. Seeing a lot of 2 wide jockeying for position. People definitely going a lot more aggressive than we might be used to seeing on that turn 1. Trying to get a little bit of position for T4. That's where you start to get forced to run back single file. So I'll be very curious to see who comes out ahead here after this first 2 laps or so. And that's really something. Just looking back through the field, it's just 2 by 2 the entire way back. This is going to be a great night.
Even the blimp view can't get everybody in here, so this is
This is a very well behaved race. This is great. So everyone's basically in their own drafts going on, or like the draft here. Wow.
Yeah, so I'm taking a look at this pack here. I've been kind of watching them. Nelson Addison, Aaron Law, Oliver Hartley, having a lot of that side by side through the vast majority of this first lap without losing contact. So this is the kind of action that I was talking about last week, where you can go side by side this entire lap, and so long as nobody has a little bit of a whoops, right, that causes you to break contact, you can get away with it. You can have some really great wheel-to-wheel racing here, and so far, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, and oddly, we have a little bit of spacing at the front. We've got our front 3, and then another pack behind trying to catch up.
Oh, spin that turn 1. Someone spun. Who was it? Oh,
I believe that was Jeffrey Decker.
Yeah, sure enough, that was that little bobble through that first T1, T2. That was enough to get a separation. That's what I was talking about. If you get that separation, that's kind of it. Then you have to rely on strategy and a little bit of luck to catch that pack ahead again. Because once these packs space out with the competency and the level of coordination that we're seeing with these drivers, all the way back through top 20, even top 30, you're behind the 8 ball if a pack gets away from you.
there's a great battle going on with Jeffrey Decker, Scott Bell, and Nelson right now. Both 3 to 5 car battle. They're all going for it. Oh wow. They're behind another pack of about 5 as well. Oh man.
It's a fantastic field when the commenters are just sitting there going, wow. That's fantastic. And we are definitely starting to see a couple of packs starting to form, but I wouldn't say that anybody has completely lost touch yet, right? So at the front of the field, we do have a little bit more separation that's going to be difficult to overcome. We got a 2-second gap going back to P5, but beyond that, right now, it's really anyone's game.
Yeah, and what's been really neat, we have a relatively new member to the front of the pack, Eric Lamoureux. He joined the league a couple of weeks ago, and he's turned out to be an incredible sniper in the front pack. You almost forget he's there until he wins the race.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Eric from doing officials, a year back or so. That's definitely his style. He's it's
very
not just
patient.
that he's quick, he's patient, right? He bides his time and he's very tactical.
Yes.
What do you think with the second pack? Is the second pack from the lead pack, what do you think is going to start happening here? because they're starting to lose pace from the lead pack.
So it really depends. Peter and Carl both tend to be pretty cooperative in a situation like this. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on them. The question is whether Joshua Fitz-Johnson will play ball. If he decides he wants to race, then he could certainly interfere with any plans to catch up to that front pack.
There's a lot going on here.
Welcome to.
Yeah, welcome to the booth.
Well, we've got Thortella Pimluth back here in a battle for P27. They're going side by side all the way through. I feel like they've been half a lap like that. And get a little bit of a respite, but Adam Wright is just sitting right there waiting to take him too wide once again.
Yeah, Pim and Thor had a rivalry that started brewing, I think, mid-season in Season 5 in the SF2 series. And it does seem like they always find themselves on the grid. They find each other.
I was wondering who that voice was. It's Jason.
he had a stealth entry.
Surprise.
It's like, that doesn't sound like Pete. Looks like Jake's having a nice battle himself. Or 3 cars in front of him. He's just battling it out with them.
Yeah, so you've got Jake and Pim and Thor, Adam. And it's always fascinating. Early in the race, I love watching how various packs operate. You'll have the lead pack often cooperating to break away, which is generally pretty good strategically. And then as you move down through the race, through the line, it's interesting studying each pack's tendencies and their behavior. Who's racing and who's thinking about the long game.
Real quick, we've got Joshua Dancy. Since I know we got Team Dancy in the house, carry his Team Shake and Bake. He is currently up 4 spots into P11. And let's see, who's the other half of that duo there?
He's got Grandin
Steve
behind him, Miller in front of him.
I'm seeing smoke. I don't know if that's... Okay, no, that's just locking it up. Okay. Steve, and then... sorry, where is Scott Bell? Scott Bell must have had an incident early because he is down 14 spots at the moment, unless he was not serving a penalty or something like that, was he?
No,
he's not been down pit road, so may have to go revisit that, but Scott trying to work his way back up there to break it into the 20s sooner than later.
And another thing that's fascinating, Pete, you've alluded to this a number of times, as we chat throughout the week, how people who used to be traffic are now problems, and it's just awesome to see Joshua Fitz-Johnson sitting there in P5. I don't know that I've ever seen him this high, and he's really holding his own, and he's holding his own against Peter Nodwell and Carl Drunke behind him. So that's incredible.
Let's see if Peter goes for a pass.
I came up with Sammy Bridges and Joshua Fitz-Johnson as they were sort of just getting into Skippy. Both these guys in just a matter of 6 months, and you can sort of tell. You can even look at their graph, right?
Yeah.
Their profiles with their we've got something called an iRating that is sort of measuring your progress compared to all the other drivers on the service. It gives you a little bit of a graph, and you see the moment they jump into Sunday Night Skippy, it just starts to creep all the way up. And both these guys sitting comfortably inside the top 10 right now. These are guys that used to be elated if they were in the front half, and here they are, vying for top 10s, top 5s. This is really good stuff here.
For sure. It's funny that you bring up Sammy. He's never been a slouch. He's always been a very hard racer. But generally he wasn't in that top 5, top 10 contention. And last week we were at Suzuka. We had our practice races, and I think he won one of them and came in second in the other. Just absolutely blazing a trail.
This looks like Sammy Bridges is closing that gap to that second pack.
Yeah, I mean, if they cooperate, they can get there.
this is going to come down to, because looking through the field, I'll tell you what, all the way back to about P35, there is not a single car on their own, right?
Right.
So we are going to see the deciding factors here are going to come down to how well can each individual group coordinate that draft? How well can they communicate with their car positioning? Because these drivers can't hear each other, right? They're not allowed to speak through the comms, unless for some reason they've prearranged, sitting in a channel like this with each other. They can only communicate their intent, what they would like the other people in the group to do, by how they're placing their car, when they're accelerating, when they're braking. So this really comes down to a bit of a game of finesse and being able to communicate clearly with your group. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 groups on here on the field. So we're going to see a lot of decisions made by how well these guys can anticipate each other.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm seeing really good cooperation in that second pack. They, through turn 1 all the way up through turn 4, they are definitely attempting to coordinate.
And now you've got Eric and the lead up front too. Wow.
Yeah, and there's no question that those top 3 are keeping one eyeball on their relatives, and they're monitoring the progress that that second pack is making. And the more progress that pack makes, the more apt they're to be to work together before they even think of racing. Now, what's interesting, we made a change to our bonus point structure a few seasons ago, so there is a carrot dangling in front of all 3 of these guys, Edwin, Chris, and Eric, in that for every certain number of laps that you cross the finish line in first, you get a bonus. What that bonus is actually determined after the race is over, but it's definitely a factor to consider. How much do we work together versus how much do individuals try to, vie for those bonus points, which can be real difference makers in the final point standings.
For this lap.
Now, as we've been talking about that second and third pack have gone ahead and closed the gap on each other, right? So we had Sammy right in Joshua Fitzjohnson's draft, and we saw actually a little bit of a bobble. Looked like miscommunication with Dronky and Mike Bowers in a T1. I think we've got a race on our hand with these 2 packs. I think they're going to close it up.
This could be
for
an
sure.
8-car race. Or 8-car battle, sorry. I see Chris Herrera took the lead back again off the nice draft.
Yeah, Chris will no doubt, knowing Chris, he's going to care quite a bit about those bonus points, particularly between himself and Edwin. Those points are going to be pretty crucial over the course of the season.
I believe he won a previous season off of bonus points now.
I'm sure, Pete, you're much closer to that spot on the grid than I am.
If it had happened, I must have blocked it out of my memory. There's definitely a black hole in the season somewhere. I'm not quite sure what happened to it. I remember the races, but it's strange. Going back to this pack, this is looking really good. You're seeing a lot of 2-wide trading through some of those S's, and then lining up into single file here. Back in about P17 and P16, looking at Lauren Avery and JR Hoops. They've been playing nice for the second half of this lap, but I've been watching them trade barbs through that first sector where you can really go 2-wide without big issues here. I'm thinking we're going to start seeing some position trading with these guys.
Yeah, for sure. I've been speaking with JR a little bit lately, and he's been running his seasons fairly conservatively. Both him and Steve Dewar, they're really, for all intents and purposes, teammates, and they've both been talking about really ramping up the aggressiveness. They really want to get in there and start fighting their way forward.
And while we're on, JR is another one of those guys. I remember his first season, right? That's one of those guys who has absolutely stunning development as a driver, both in his car control and his racecraft. I remember Long Beach, last race of last season. I got myself into trouble in the first couple of laps and ended up coming up on him as traffic, and he was sitting in the top 10. And all of a sudden, it was work.
Yeah.
When did this guy get tough to get around, right? It's just one more of many examples in the league where, as soon as people start plugging into the resources we have available, start asking the questions of guys that are willing to give up their time and work with the drivers, you just see this remarkable improvement.
And that's usually how you find out. You come across somebody who you're used to, it's a gimme, and then it's not. And like you said, now you've got a race. And that's what I love about the league. There's certainly environments that are right for, maybe a bit of resentment or even a bit of gatekeeping. This is my spot. I'm entitled to this. And we just don't see that here. As these guys improve and the spread of pace and skill becomes much more condensed, everybody is thrilled for everybody else. I think that's very unique and very positive.
First taker down pit road, Jeffrey Decker, Nelson Addison joining him.
Well, that's the second time we've seen Jeffrey duck in at the first opportunity for the open pit window. I'm curious if he's going to start trying to work that undercut strategy as his default for this season.
Yeah. Yeah, he's usually one to go in with the group. And once again, we have a battle between Thor and Pim going into turn 4. Tim's got the inside line. Thor slots in behind. Really smart driving. I think that's one of the things that we've seen evolve over the past 5+ seasons is, there was a time where everybody would look to take that, too wide. We're gonna go too wide, lap after lap for 45 minutes. But people have realized that we can work together a little bit, at least up front, and make some progress.
Yeah, it's one thing to teach somebody how to find that gap in a corner, teach them the basic, car control fundamentals, but there's a little bit of an art, right, to pulling it together and think more about strategy instead of just the tactics you can use in that situation. Think about when you want to use them. That's the most difficult set of skills I have ever attempted to work on with people, and the way that these guys are taking it to heart and making it work, and suddenly we're seeing people winning SF2 on fuel strategy week after week, and I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. It is, and it's fascinating because in a moment, the decision by one of the drivers or their strategy can change. If you're cooperating and the other person bobbles, now it's a knife fight until that person can collect and prove that they're back on track. Then we'll start cooperating again. So it's incredible to watch that evolve over the course of a race.
And to add a little bit to that as well is to do this all at the same time as trying to race, that's a lot to manage in your own brain. That's difficult.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you're gonna sleep well tonight, my friend.
Oh my god, my wife's gonna be like, "Why aren't you coming to sleep?"
And we were talking about that second pack being able to close up the gap. Well, don't look now, they got it done. So we have ourselves a official gaggle from P5 to P11.
Oh gosh.
How's it going?
We've got Dronk in there. We've got Joshua Fitz-Johnston in there. We know Dronky's disposition. If he starts falling back in that pack, he's going to hit the go button.
Yep.
Especially when they're 5 seconds back and there isn't a whole lot to lose as far as gaps to that front pack. So folks starting to get a little bit of antsy and start trying to throw him down the track position. I think we're going to see him push back a little bit. This is setting up to be a pretty exciting finish.
So Chris, what kind of things are you looking at right now?
I mean, this is quite a few things actually. We got the leaders coming into pit road. I was just looking at our whole leaderboard, just going berserk because I think everybody now, as we see the second group here, and Jeremy Grandin really
good save.
Really maximizing that time there. So these pit strategies playing out. Who was
massive pitting here.
Wow, half the field is in pit row.
Yeah,
the exit here is going to be incredible to watch.
So Mike Bowers coming across here, already having been down pit road. I believe he's the leader.
Here we go. We have.
Here
Wow.
we go. Yeah.
Buckle up, everyone.
That's
It looks like everyone's finding their single file here, so
looks like
no
Chris
major issues.
That's
No.
great. And we've
Now,
got
if
a
you're
little bit of a
Deca right
traffic
now,
charge.
You're looking at Deca right now. So folks that aren't familiar with being in the car in this game, you get a spotter call, right? That's that voice that's telling you if there's a car to the left or right. And that spotter works even if the cars are in the pit lane next to you and you can't see them. So when you're coming down a big straight like that and you've got 95 cars coming out of the pit lane, you're just hearing car left, clear, car left, clear. And you're coming out into a swarm of angry bees.
Yeah, and we have Jeffrey, Peter, and Carl. Cooperation levels dropping a little bit. So we've got some folks who think that they're the one who ought to bring this pack up to the next one.
Am I seeing this right? Edwin is gapped at the entire.
He
second
had
pack.
approximately 4.52 seconds faster pit stop.
So
The least
short
time
field.
in the pit, in the pit box, and that translated to almost 5 seconds. No, actually, so that works out. So 4.5 seconds overall on pit lane over Chris Herrera. So that's to our point that we were making in the earlier race. Pit lap is one thing, but the amount of fuel that you're taking is another thing on top of that. And clearly, even though they both came down pit road at the same time, two very different strategies at play there.
So
Yeah.
Edwin took less fuel. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that'll
It's
definitely
most
limit
likely
his
with the
options later.
4-second delta in the time spent in the pit box. You can almost guarantee that he was trying to get separation by short fueling. Now the question will be: is that going to pay off? Right? With these front three, Eric, we talked about being a really patient tactician. Chris really working on his fuel saving game, thinking about a little bit longer term, and Bachler, sort of always that guy who's sitting back just waiting to pick up any scrap that you are thoughtless enough to leave for him. This is a strong threesome to work up and reel Edwin in a little bit and nip away at that gap before the second round of pit stops. I would not give this to Edwin just yet.
So how many pit stops has Edwin done so far?
That was his first.
Yeah, it's a 2 pit stop race. So that does introduce heightened fuel strategy or strategic options.
We're on board here with Jack Moffitt in P15 at the moment. This is talk about gaggles. I think it's P7 all the way to 15 here in a nice tidy row, at least for the moment. And we've got some real heavy hitters ready to make a splash. They have, if I'm looking at this correct,
That's P6 all the way back.
P6.
And arguably, Mike Barr's getting reeled in. That would make it P5.
It's
Yeah.
quite a train.
It is. And at that point, it's tough to work together. It just takes one person. You got a bit of a prisoner's dilemma, which is one of the things that I just love about situations like this.
Yep. Pete,
there's
I got
cooperation until there's not.
Pete, I gotta ask you, if you're behind like a pack of say like 7 like this, what would you do if you're in the last car there?
Right. So again, I'm thinking risk mitigation. I'm going to go ahead and try to nip away at people, so long as it's not going to cost us to get gapped. Right. I don't want to lose contact. That's not worth it. But playing the odds, if that third or fourth car has a little bit of an shall we say, and that rear end comes out a little bit, right? I don't want to be behind him when that happens. So I want to be in the front 3 or 4 at the most, and I will get pretty aggressive to get up there.
Well played, sir.
I'm listening to everything you say, and I'm like taking notes right now.
Yeah, do. Soak it up.
Like the reason I won the race is just the little things that you say. I'm like, oh, I can use that.
Got teammates here, Peter Lee and Rafa Bofil, and Peter, nice enough to join us in the broadcast booth for the first race, but currently down 6 spots total on the evening, but probably pretty happy to be hooked up with his teammate there and try to chase down Jonathan Dockery there. It's going to be the next, I believe, the next person who's super out front, because they got David Cow as well in that train, and try to crack the top 30. Speaking of top 30 crackers, Scott Bell, who you had checked in with earlier, he's all the way back up to P26 after an early race off track, and making some great time there.
He's another bloomer. He's in the same camp, in my opinion, as Sammy, where just one day he was in front and he stayed there. So.
J.R. Hoops and Aaron Law having a great battle. I feel like we've called these two names together quite a bit. I could be making that up, but I think that they find each other quite a bit on track, and you can see on full display inches apart from one another. So obviously, either a lot of trust or a lot of
well, we're going to find out. So
exactly.
They're going into turn 4. Is Aaron going to back out and tuck in? And it looks like he is. So they are.
Yeah. Oh,
no.
Not so much.
Oh no, he took him. He tried to take him.
Stewards.
He wants it. He's not giving it up all the way to the next corner.
Yeah, just as I was calling, yep, they're working together. They are not, folks.
This is
They
what
wanna
you call
see
a
how
battle
long
for
they can
position.
keep this.
Yeah.
They want to see how long they can keep this going. Oh man.
Oh no! Again, what's so great about this track is they're not really losing a lot of time by doing this, right?
No.
You know, if you've got a pack ahead of you,
But now he
in
has
shooting
someone
range,
behind him. Now he's got Spencer right behind him too. So now it's a 3-car battle.
Yeah, I mean that cost him a little bit, I guess. You know, if he had tucked in behind JR, then they could have continued leapfrogging a little bit through the next series of turns, and Spencer may not have been a problem. But yeah, now he's in their draft and he's part of the party.
Up 15 spots, Spencer is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Now
see
we're
it.
going to give Spencer another call out too. Now,
Yeah.
I made the fatal mistake of ridiculing him into taking on left foot braking, and all of a sudden the man's doubled his pace. So
And then this happens. Yeah.
I apologize.
So we know who to blame.
And let's see, does Andrew Cole make the move into that pack there with JR Hoops, Aaron Law?
Yeah, looks like he's game. We got a bobble on Oliver.
I think that's about the best way that could have happened if there's going to be
Yeah.
a bit of an issue. You know, stayed off the racing line, didn't slow down the pack too much. But that's the sort of thing where, you know, the bigger the pack that you're racing with, the more likely someone is going to make an unintentional error like that, and it's going to cause a pack separation.
Yeah, and that gets back to the risk mitigation that you were talking about. You know, if you're sitting behind 10 cars, that's 10 people that can throw a wrench into things.
Exactly.
So what's
You know, and once you get beyond the first 3 or 4 cars on that pack, you've got visibility issues, concertina effect, and the risks just go way up. In addition to just simply being more drivers, visibility is poor, the braking point gets backed up more and more, just a lot more room for error.
Yeah.
Now a little bit back to the few lead packs. I'm looking at Mike Bowers here, and he's on his own in between packs. Now, Pete, if that was you in between packs, just barely out of the draft, where are you thinking?
Yeah, so I'm keeping an eye on that until I want to figure out what lap they're going to come up to me and actually catch my draft, and if possible, I want to pit on that lap. You know, with these 2 stoppers, the fuel windows are tighter. You have fewer laps to choose from for each stop. You know, once you commit to your second stop, you know, you have to come in, you know, in 2 to 3 lap window instead of maybe a 4 to 5 lap window when you've got these longer races. But if it's possible, I don't want to give them the mega draft slingshot and take a second off their lap time to get up to me, right? I want to make them work for it. So you'll see that often for me where I'll duck in just as they're hitting that 1 second gap.
Just to not give them that cake.
Right. There's no reason for me to give them more pace if they're reeling me in. They don't need my help.
Yeah, and we had some minor miscommunication, I think, between Decker, Dronke, and Fitz Johnson. They slowed themselves down a little bit coming through turn 1, and that allowed Sammy and Dancy to make contact. So we've broadened the battle.
So now Peter is leading that pack.
Yeah, I think they were trying to work together, but there was a bobble or some miscommunication going through turn 1, and it cost the group a little bit of time.
I gotta give a
either-
shout out. Sorry,
Go
I was just gonna say, I gotta give a shout out to Peter Nodwell, because he's the one who told me about this league, actually. So, hey, how's it going?
Yeah,
Thank
Peter's
you
a
for
great guy.
inviting me to this league.
Well, excellent. That's great. We'll keep a running list of who is whose fault.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, especially the
Peter,
Formula
it's
2
all your
guys.
Peter, it's all your fault.
But yeah, that pack is 7 strong behind Mike. Mike
Now,
Bowers.
again, the driver that I had called out at the beginning of the race as my dark horse for a strong top 10.
He's now in 12th.
Max DiGiacomo. Yeah, he's sitting back in 12th, picked up several positions here. He's not turning it on yet. I'm really curious to see what happens when he goes max attack, because
here he goes
his
right
aggression
now.
level is very high
Yep,
when he
here we go.
commits.
Here he goes right now. He's taking the inside and seeing what he can do.
Edwin
Yeah, and
Viorino
good
on
on
pit
Josh.
road, by the way. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, good on Josh. He recognized that he was going to lose that spot, and the moment he saw that was a losing fight, he just tucked in. So Edwin's pitted again, huh?
Edwin, Aaron Law, Adam Wright, Spencer Clark. So we got some mid to upper packers there, including your race leader down pit road, and the game is afoot once again.
It is. So we have... Now, JR, he has not pitted a second time, but he's going to benefit greatly from sitting behind Edwin. That's going to help JR's second pit a lot if he can just sit there.
He's gonna, yeah. It's gonna increase his lap time, gain him a few positions, hopefully.
Yeah, it's going to pull him away from Steve Dewar.
That's what I found interesting about this track, is you didn't have to perfect it exactly. If you could be behind a fast driver, you just sort of benefit off of their draft and put down the same lap times.
Yeah, and that's really I'm sure Pete can probably speak more to this, but that's really the philosophy behind the car. It just punches a big fat hole in the air, and it does so in order to promote this kind of racing, so that there can be these pace differences, but you still get a good battle between drivers who may not necessarily be exactly equals.
So Chris, what's catching your attention right now?
Well, we've got once again Chris, the other Chris Herrera down pit road, and basically this whole lead group is just splintering off one by one. Everybody having a different idea of what they want to do. One thing that I will note, Edwin originally was out to a 5-second lead, and so keep an eye on that once the pit stops are completed here. Obviously, Carl now in there, Jeremy Grandin in pit road as well, but just not a lot of where we saw half the grid go in on that one lap. I'm just not seeing as much agreement on when the next best time to pit is, which should be interesting. And then, of course, with everybody having taken different levels of fuel, we'll see how that impacts how much they need to take or want to take on the second one, because as we saw in the Skippy Formula 2 race, clearly it's very easy to kind of mess that calculation up a little bit and end up sputtering. You're not gonna make it up the hill, fellas. It's an uphill finish, so not gonna be able to coast.
And Mike Bowers doing a great job of maintaining that gap behind him, because if they make contact, he's going to have 10 cars to contend with. So it certainly behooves him to keep that gap, and he appears to be doing it pretty well.
That's stressful.
Yeah, it definitely can be.
He actually, I'm looking at that now, he might be just barely in that gap. It looks about 0.8. I think he might have been caught up.
And to Pete's point, the moment he realizes, if they make contact, the moment they do, knowing Mike, he'll duck into the pits. But not this lap.
One more lap. So Pete, do you think that there's going to be anyone in the top pack who runs out of fuel on this race, just trying to make it work and cut seconds down?
As far as people trying to cut it too close, it'd be a real shame if Herrera ran out of fuel. But otherwise, I'm kind of
sarcastically.
So I'm very curious about Edwin's fueling, right? So his second stop was only 13 seconds as well. So I'm curious where his levels worked out. If he did just some monstrous fuel saving in that first stint, because 4 seconds is a hell of a gap. So I'm really curious to see where he comes out.
Yeah, if I think back to our last trip to Zolder, I think he ran out of fuel in that race, and I think he employed a similar strategy, short fueled the first one, and tried to do some quick math the second one. So hopefully it pans out for him, but there's definitely some risk on the table there.
I don't know about you guys, but I've started considering taping like a little pit window sticky on my screen, so I don't have to like try and do it mid race.
Yeah, I have one already. It's called JRT, and the sticky updates itself, which is very convenient.
Oh shit! I gotta look into that.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so we've talked about that on the broadcast before. Many more drivers, increasingly so, are beginning to adopt, JRT or SDK or one of these other fuel calculators, so they can make more sophisticated decisions about actual strategy instead of just how much fuel do I need to get to the end of the race. We're seeing a huge uptake in that, especially in the newer drivers that we've been talking about that came from those P20s, P30s, and now are up in that front half of the pack, even P10s. Seeing a lot of sophisticated fuel strategy enabled by these kind of utilities.
I gotta update myself. I'm just doing it in my head.
I mean, to Pete's point. Yeah, exactly. To Pete's point, if you have it doing the math for you, then you can focus exclusively on when you pit, and you're not trying to do math while you're driving, and it's definitely helpful.
So if I'm seeing my gaps correctly, it looks like Chris and Paul being the proper, Edwin sitting P3 right now, but Joshua Fitz-Johnson and Dancy ahead of him have only done one pit. So Edwin's still the provisional leader at this point. Paul and Chris looks like they took a second and a half out of Edwin in that pit stop. But I'm still a little concerned about the speed of that second pit stop. It looks like he did stay in a second longer than Chris and almost 3 seconds longer than Paul. But I think he's going to be cutting it very close. And if they are able to pull off, another couple seconds of him with a fuel level issue or some traffic issues, it could be a concern.
He's like here all on his own, no draft, no one behind him, stress-free in a way.
Yeah.
We have 43 minutes into this race, so 2 more minutes. So.
And meanwhile, Mike picked up a few frenemies on his pit stop. Now he looks to be breaking away, but yeah, he picked up a few buddies there. So we have Mike and then Decker, Max DiGiacomo, Peter Nodwell, Peter Miller, Jack Moffitt. I mean, this gonna get good.
Well, Joshua Fitz-Johnson, Joshua Dancy ducking in. Ooh, yeah. Decker goes a little off there. So this will cycle everybody through. I do believe those were the last. Well, I guess we got a couple more. I guess Jeff Torbeck, David Cow. So this will be the majority, though, of folks having pit. And we should be good to go to the checkered flag from here on out.
So now everyone has pit.
Yeah, and we're seeing Max start to turn up the wick, trying to pull one over on Jeffrey Decker. That's a bit of a bold move. I think we're going to start seeing the claws come out. We're getting within 6.5 minutes left on track here. He's going to start feeling that white flag. I'm curious to see how this works out. I think he's going to be pushing hard for that top 10.
And yeah, good pick with Max here. He's up in 10th position ahead of Jeffrey Decker, if I'm seeing it correctly.
So Decker and Max have been trading barbs a little bit. Like I said, Max starting to push with a little bit more aggression. Now, if I'm Jeffrey and Max in the situation right now, they've got a little bit of a gap up front. Probably going to go ahead and see if we can cooperate another lap or two, because I don't, if I'm Max, I don't want Jeffrey. I want Dancy and Bowers and Sammy Bridges and all them ahead.
Grandin Edwin trying to put the moves on Jack Moffitt back here for P13. They are side by side all the way.
I don't remember the last time we had such a condensed group like this.
Yeah.
At the end of the race. This is going to be incredible to watch.
Despite all of that, 2 pit stops did not do as efficient of a job as pulling the field out as it has in the past. So it's really good to see the gap now up to Edwin, 3.3 seconds. It looks like it's been staying there for just a little bit.
So there's Edwin taking the lead. Let's see if he runs out of fuel or not.
It's his to lose at the moment. That being said, Paul Bachler now moving himself into P2.
And I wonder how much Sammy and Carl are going to work to catch up to Eric. I don't know.
No, I think at this, I think at this point the concern is trying to get away from, Bowers, Joshua Fitz-Johnson, and Dancy behind, because they're about to get real hungry real quick.
For sure.
There's Eric coming in who can snipe you, right?
He's waiting in the wings.
Yeah, he does have that annoying habit.
Yeah. you forget he's there and then he wins. But I could tell Sammy is trying to figure out, he's doing some math. Do I fight Carl? Or do we make a break for it?
A little bit further back, Jeremy Grandin and Peter Miller, Jack Moffitt heating up once again, seeing some really aggressive moves to the inside, strong, well telegraphed moves, but definitely the aggression's getting ratcheted up throughout the entire field.
And what's incredible?
It looks like Mike has gone ahead and caught Sammy and Carl. So what do you do now? That's I think Carl's probably going to move into just runaway mode. I wouldn't be too surprised if we start seeing him start to move a little bit more defensive and be a little bit more aggressive in his.
Let
his
Mike
first
be
sector.
Sammy's problem and not his.
Exactly. So in this situation, sometimes you need to start thinking about how can I use this traffic behind me to my advantage if there's no way to drop them, right? How can I make this complicated for the guy who's behind me?
Now, Carl actually facilitated the pass there, so we've got a solid 3 group right there.
Was it one more lap to go?
We've got about 3 minutes, so I'd expect at least 2.
Okay.
Well, it was interesting. Really aggressive yield from Joshua Fitz-Johnston trying to slingshot Decker up to make contact with Joshua Dancy. So clearly these guys think that they can still make something happen here to get a little bit more of a position advancement. Now it'll be interesting to see if this threesome with Sammy Bridges, Carl Dronke, and Matt Bowers feels the same. I imagine we'll find out come around T1.
Yeah, and if I'm Eric, I'm pretty happy looking at my rearview mirror, because that this has to crack off at some point. They can't keep waiting to work together to catch him. At some point, They need to sort themselves out, and we're probably right about there.
Yeah, we're coming up on 2 to go. It's time to get in your favorable position for that last lap.
Yeah.
And the favorable position is not with 5 cars nipping at your heels.
So Chris, what you looking at right now?
Yeah, the leader coming around to what I assume would be take the white flag for the final lap, and just behind them, Paul Bachler and Chris Herr, I think, have made that decision that we're not catching Edwin unless he runs out of fuel. So game on.
Yeah. All right, so Mike, Sammy, and Carl starting to dice it up a little bit.
This may well be white flag here. I'm not quite sure if we see that as spectator, but I think we were above that 150 or below that 150 mark, so I think this is the time to go.
And look
And
at
the pressure
Carl.
really is. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Actually, Carl was thinking about sending it 3 wide there for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
At
the
this
pressure is
point,
really
Carl
on
just
them to keep it
probing for
clean.
anything. Yep.
Yeah.
So this is seeing if you can force a mistake, right? Just stick a nose in, be ready to pull back if it doesn't open up, but just see if you can force a little bit of a flinch.
We're running in VR, which helps too, with like figuring out where is everyone on that track.
All that, and here comes Dancy and Decker right behind them. So before this is all said and done, they may have a shot here. Edwin Viorino coming around the last set of turns here, though.
Gosh. Yeah. They've got contact. It's
So it looks like Edwin did not run out of fuel.
Edwin did not. Paul
No,
Bachler,
he did
Chris
not.
Herrera, Eric Lamoureux, and here is going to be the
Mike is in probably the least favorable position here.
Fantastic racing there. And we missed
Oh!
that finish there, too. Oh, there's just way too much going on. We got Spencer Clark and Steve Dewar. Oliver Hartley is the next large battle here. Oh, boy. Oh, Sean making just a little bit of a late move there. Andrew
Well, the
Cole.
photo finish camera's going to run out of film here, man.
No joke. Oh, another fantastic finish. Dan Pagowski, Thor Tolo. We've got David Cow, Jeff Torbeck, Peter Lee.
I gotta say, no major incidences this race. That's super impressive.
Yeah, I didn't really see
Especially for a
anything.
field this size. We saw a couple of
Yeah.
bobbles. We got field separation, but everybody pretty much keeping their nose clean. I think we only had a few people that had to hit the pits more than twice, which would be an unscheduled stop. It looks like basically the entire field made it through.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
there.
Very
I mean, I'm looking all through the intervals here where we finished, and there are quite a few battles that were decided by mere tenths, if not hundredths of a second. So, to your point there, Pete, what a the cameraman. Hopefully, he had a large SD card in there, and I'm sure there's going to be some screenshots coming into the Discord later because there was some great finishing. Hard to do it all justice when you got that much going on.
We had one person off the lead lap. One person.
Yeah, I gotta say, like even top 20, they're within 35 seconds. Top 20 people of the leader. That's impressive.
Congratulations,
And to
Edwin.
Chris,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say to Chris's point, more impressive than that is nobody finished alone, right? There was battles right to the end for almost everybody. That's amazing that late in the race.
Big congrats to Edwin Viorino. Lost in the shuffle of all this great racing going on. He put on a clinic tonight and got away with the victory. Paul Bachler finishing P2, which I mean, just off the top of my head, I believe is his best Sunday night Skippy finish. Essentially, may have finished on the podium before. I'm not sure. Chris Herrera in third, and I will scroll through the rest as we look to see if anybody's willing to chat with us in the Discord.
That might be Paul Bachler's first podium.
Right? That's.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say for sure, but
I think that is.
It looks like you got Jonathan Dockery here.
And also Max. Max found his way into the booth.
Yeah,
Max
there
is
you
in
go.
the booth.
Little ninja sneak in there. Max, can you hear us?
Yeah, you guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Absolutely. How are you doing tonight, man? That was a heck of a run for you, finishing up 7 spots and walking away with the top 10.
Yeah, super. It's my first time on the broadcast. I just want to say thank you very much, you guys, for a great job you guys have been doing. And yeah, it was an intense race. It was super race. It was really enjoyable. My first top 10, so happy about that.
It was a nail biter watching you, Max. One of the things that we were talking about was how much so many drivers have, improved over the course of being members in the league. And it seemed like, P1 up through P whatever, even beyond P10, it was anybody's race. And it was awesome to watch that. Good job.
Max, first of all, I want to thank you for coming in P10. You were my pick for that midfield guy to watch to come in and do a solid top 10. So nailed it. I'm curious what you were thinking those first couple of laps. Were you looking to improve position, or what was the plan to work through the field?
It was really tough to move up because everybody had everybody's draft, right? And the guys were really great in front, and nobody was making any mistakes. So I figured, let me just try to stay here and try to capitalize if somebody makes a mistake. But I wasn't able to. It was really tough to pass because everybody had everybody's draft,
Yeah. It looked like a hard, clean race, at least from where I was sitting.
No pressure to be Pete's pick.
Yeah, once this league is great. I mean, I've improved so much. I don't know if you guys probably remember the first time I came into the league, I was like kamikaze. It was like pub races, So I've totally changed my mindset since I'm in this league,
Well, you're a legit threat these days, so which is a very good thing. We were talking. I remember we were doing some laps, Max, a few weeks ago, and yeah, I can understand why Pete picked you. So it makes sense.
This week though, I didn't practice as much. The wife was on vacation, so a little tougher.
That's always a bonus. Right now,
Don't you
my
practice
wife-
more when the wife is on vacation? I'm confused by that.
No, I practice less when the wife's on vacation. Trust me, practice a lot less. All right, guys, take care. I'm out. Thank you very much.
Wife's
again.
home. Time to hop in the rig.
Have a good one, my friend.
Take care.
That was Max Giacomo there with a great top 10 finish. Let's go down the line here. Actually, bring in. Do we have any other sneakers? No, we don't. And I'm gonna let you all take over the interviews. I ask a lot of questions, plenty, but we got Jonathan Dockery in here. How you doing tonight, Jonathan?
I'm doing all right. And I came in you said you ask a lot of questions, so ask away. So
Silence.
I know, right? So
I gotta ask a question. All right. Well, so it was I mean, I don't know what the expectations were for yourself going into it, but you ended up working your way up from the back of the pack all the way to P25, which was up 15 spots total for you on the evening, and so that indicates to me some good methodical racing and taking advantage of opportunities given to you.
So, what had happened is last week I incurred a penalty. I accidentally punted Oliver Hartley, who I happen to be coaching this season. And congrats to him, by the way, in the SF2 race because he qualified pole, and I reckon he had a really good race. So that was awesome. But going into this race, so I knew I had the penalty, right? And I knew next week everybody knows that I really like Watkins Glen. So going into this, I was like, I knew I could qualify. Me and Gherkin both had penalties. Gherkin qualified 22nd, I think, and something happened with him. I didn't want to wreck anyone. I just wanted a good, clean race, get my penalty out of the way so I could race next week. But all week long, I had been pretty decent, and Pete was my coach. Me and Pete coached the team last season, but Pete also was my coach in a sense, and he helped me out quite a bit. And one of the things that he had talked about was the way that he goes about pitting and pit limiter versus not pit limiter. So I kind of worked on not using it this week, and I messed up my first actual pit stop. I stayed out a little long because I knew if I ran as long as I could that first stop that I would be better off fuel wise toward the end. But I was sputtering from went around the last left, and when we made the last sharp left, I was kind of sputtering from there to the pit. so I didn't get through the pit as fast as I could, and I changed front tires because I'm an idiot. But
Sounds like a few people had unplanned tire changes. I'm seeing that in Discord.
and Jason, like, I noticed that Jason didn't qualify, and I was like, well, that's cool. But then Jason didn't grid, and I was like, oh man.
Jason's
But
tired.
I did my penalty, which, like I said, I earned, and I wasn't arguing it. So whenever I came out from my penalty, though, because I didn't use the pit limiter, I'm like, I think 8.2 seconds is all the time that I lost from the guy ahead of me. So I slowly ran them down, did my first pit stop, and then Daniel Pegowski, when we entered onto pit road, he was 1.6 ahead of me. But because I had stayed out the extra lap, even though I was sputtering, and I didn't use the limiter whenever we pitted and we came out of the pit, I'm 1.8 ahead of him. And I think I jumped 3 or 4 spots in the pit. So it was a really good race, and I had a lot of fun. I think I had 5 slight little, like, very slight off tracks, but that was a lot of fun. It's probably the best race that I've actually driven in Sunday Night Skippy, in my opinion. But it was a blast. I think we had 37 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, we were actually talking about that earlier. It was, I think, overall, just obviously a lot of fun to watch. The field did eventually got strung out a little bit, but it really took 8, 9, 10 laps, which is not what we're used to seeing, really. So that just goes to show how respectful everybody was in the beginning. And of course, things happen, accidents happen, but it was just a lot of fun to see the different strategies that played out, the fuel, everybody, a couple of you guys were working your way up through the field, and other people hanging
like I
on.
said,
So
from my standpoint, and like we said, I started 40th, so I was on the tail of the field. It was fun coming through the field. Like, I passed a few, I jumped a few in the pit. I think there was 4 cars I passed because I actually saw them wreck, but it was fun. This was probably one of the funnest races I've had.
I mean, if we had known that it was your student that you punted, we would have just given you a pass. I mean, you got to let them know who's boss.
Well,
So
you got
and me and Oliver-
established dominance.
yeah.
So the thing with Oliver, like, he had asked for help, and I was like, I think I can help you. And I've been trying
Got
to
your
set up a
help on
time-
my boot.
That's it. But like, we've been trying to get together all week, and it was like, I would tell him, these are my days off. This is the time I have, and he's like, okay, we'll set up a time, and it never happened. So in the race, where I punted him after the race, we talked about it. And he's like, how are you through there so fast? And in that particular corner where it happened, so I don't know the corner names, but it was the double left last week at the end of the lap, and I might break 5% there. It's like a double downshift, and you just coast in there. And he was getting on the brakes pretty good, and we worked on that this week, and I think we spent 2 hours together, and he significantly improved. So
Well, good deal.
Very good, man. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, and glad you had fun. I think it goes to show, I think there's a lot of people who had fun. We actually have a full booth, so we got to get to everybody, but really appreciate you joining us once again. I know you always kind of make a point to come in, and we certainly do
because I
appreciate
really
that.
respect what you all do. I mean, I think y'all do an awesome job. So
Oh, stop it.
But maybe we can keep Pete and Jason in here next year.
I'm
with
telling you.
and then we have more of a chance to win a couple. But I will see you guys next week at the Glen. I'm really looking forward to that. So
See you, John.
hopefully top 10 next week for sure.
There you go. You heard it here first. We'll see you around.
See you, buddy.
Hey guys.
Dockery having a good night there. Let's bring in next Andrew Cole and unmute him because that's what we do. Andrew pulling double duty tonight. So I'll ask the first question because I do the segues, and then we'll open it up here. But maybe learned a lesson from the first race and applied it to the second one. I don't know.
It's funny because I'm sitting right here too.
Yeah. I don't know what happened in the first race. I blocked it. It's done.
Just
It's dead. That race is dead to me.
I thought it was a very effective strategy, and you should use it again.
God. What, fool me twice. That was my twice because I did that last season.
right.
Well, you
But
all were talking about doing a one-stopper, and I did mention that it would be a very brave person that did that.
well, I had what is that? That app I'm deleting right now from my computer. iRacing Auto Pit. And it said at the very top, I finally know to pay attention to it. And it said at the very top in the first few laps, like, if you can save 0.3 gallons, you can make this a one stopper. So, and so Michael pulled in, and I had a gap of like, I don't know, 8 or 9 seconds to Raphael. I'm like, I can let this go. And so you saw that gap of theirs dwindling. And I was doing that on purpose because I was like, save fuel, save fuel, save fuel. And then right after the first pit stop, Auto Pit said, "You're good. You can make it the whole way."
So what was it when it first said that if you save X number of gallons? What was that number again?
0.3. Go
0.3.
figure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so I actually had it calculated. I guess I'm gonna give this away. Is like I actually got a guy in our league to go on a practice session, and I'd follow him, and I calculated how much I save by drafting him per lap, and then how much I save or how much I use per lap not drafting. And I figured out like, is it worth it? Is it not? You can do one stop, but like you have to draft someone perfectly for about 8 laps straight to gain 1 lap of fuel. It just it's like the chances of that actually happening is so hard.
Ain't nobody got time for that. I'm going to 2 stops from now on, and I'm done. I am just done with the one stop strategy.
JRT.
No, it can't be done. It cannot be done.
That's why I just stopped on lap 1. I was like, nope, not doing it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean,
No, Andrew, for the SF1 race, talk me through that. 'Cause I don't know if you're keeping track, but I was. 26 position changes for you tonight throughout the race, going back and forth. A lot of trading barbs with, David Cow and Oliver Hartley and Steve Dewar, and that just looked like it was nonstop.
It was fun. So I mean, I was surprised by my qualifying in the F1. That's the best qualifying. And actually, I'm happy in that like my second to last lap or so, it was clean air. It was the best lap I've ever done. So I guess anger is my fuel. Unlike Pim, I have anger fuels
You're
me.
just stealing all my tricks.
I learned it from you, Pete. I just watch your Twitch and I'm like, what do I need to do?
I'm learning from Pete too. It's perfect. Pete broadcasting.
Well, it was good, and all credit to you, Michael. I know you probably were keeping it really consistent and pulled it off in the end. So good job.
Thank you. You made it intense. I was wondering, like, is this going to work? The entire time, I'm like way back in 8th place and thinking, like, fuck it, is this going to work?
And I was thinking, oh man, this is working. This is working.
Yeah, you should see the grin on my face when I started hearing, and so-and-so's sputtering. I was fuel saving on my last 2 laps, right? Because I was almost out, and I was like, "Oh my god, I got a fuel save, but the people ahead of me are going slow, and I can't catch up to them. I'm not going to pass anyone." And everybody just tanked it. It was like Christmas come early.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Well, still though, it was good fun, and always, thanks for hosting, and we'll try again next week.
Yeah, as always, next week.
Yeah. Sounds good, man. Well, hey, nice racing. It was fun watching you, and better luck. We will see you at Watkins Glen.
All right. Take it easy, guys.
Good job, Andrew. Take it easy.
See ya.
Andrew Cole there. We had some Joshua Fidge Johnson fans in the house. I know that much. So let's bring him in. Really, really fun watching Joshua do some some epic battle in the the second and third group, I think, throughout the race. And I just kind of wanted to get your perspective on what you saw going into it. I mean, ultimately you were down 3 spots from where you grid, but I mean, what you had to work for that tonight. Holy crap.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was in a really good spot in that second pack for most of the race, and I saw Mike do a early pit stop, and then after all the pits happened, he was like a second and a half ahead, and I was like, wow, that's really good. And And then I was kind of just running with the guys. But then in my second pit stop, I was coming first for that bit. I had the wind in my hair, and I was all excited. Coming to the pits for my second pit stop, forgot to uncheck the tires. Car jack starts going up, and I'm frantically. I'm trying to press the buttons. I'm freaking out. I'm like, this is my one chance of doing something good.
Is that
and
the
then I
worst
come
feeling
out.
or what? When your
Oh,
front
yeah.
end raises, like, oh no.
I
There goes the
couldn't
race.
believe it. I
Yeah.
came out, I think, 5th or 6th, and I was like, all right, still looking good. But then the tire was like driving on ice. So then at that point, I think we had 2 or 3 laps left. So I was trying to not hemorrhage as many positions as possible, kind of letting everyone by as safely as I can, and just trying to hold on to whatever I can. But disappointing, but overall, I think it was all right.
What's real fun is when you change one set and cut it off for the second set and then head out on that.
Can't even imagine.
Good luck. Have fun.
Yeah. But no, really good racing. It seemed pretty clean out there.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about, we only had one person. We had no disconnects and only one person who did not finish on the lead lap, which is absolutely a first. I think having no disconnects is a first.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
yeah, good race.
Yeah, it was kind of my first time. I feel like the past few weeks I've kind of found a little bit more pace. Something has recently, I guess, clicked with the Skippy. And still kind of getting the hang of running with faster guys, not crashing into the back of them. And it's just been a bit of a learning experience, but I think today was good.
Yeah, that was the thing that stood out to me. Watching that, the second pack that you were in with Dronky, the cohesion, the communication between the drivers was much more refined, right? Than we've seen previously with that wide range of drivers, right? So we were definitely seeing a lot of good working with the pack. Keep that up. People are going to accuse you of knowing what you're doing, and start expecting you to hit those top fives.
Yep. Yeah, well, you've seen my development, and I feel like I'm slowly getting there.
Yeah, we were talking about that over the course of the race, just how much development, improvement in both pace, racecraft that we've seen throughout the field, and pace and times generally. They're becoming very, very condensed, and I think tonight shows that anybody can appear in the top 10, and what happens in that top 10 is anybody's guess. So.
Yeah, qualifying was super tight. When I was looking at the times, top 1 to 20 all within a second, I guess. Haven't really looked at it too much, but it's super close. Yeah, it's great.
And the first few times that we saw that happen, we chalked it up to the track. The only issue is that it's now happening at every track. So not an issue. That's a great thing. It's awesome to watch. It's awesome to race in. It's a lot of fun not knowing what the end of the race is going to look like. And when the league first started, that wasn't the case. You pretty much knew that this was the Edwin and Pete show.
Yeah, the Pete show.
Chris Herrera picked up some pace pretty early on and left the rest of us in the dust. But these days, it's getting condensed in a very good way.
Yeah, such a problem for the lead pack drivers.
Oh, at least they're happy about it. At least they're accepting the challenge. So.
Yeah, that's why we're in the booth now.
All right, guys.
Well, I'm out.
Looking forward to hearing the broadcast. Love listening to it every week. When's the next?
Yeah.
I'm not sorry. Did I say podcast? I meant race. But when is the next podcast episode? I've been waiting.
Is that right?
Ian. Yeah, Ian. What say you?
When?
You gone?
Yeah, you see, Chris, you're going quiet, mate. We'll try and we should do one this week for sure.
Yeah, I'm at least 50% to blame for the delay on that one, but things got a little crazy. But I to be honest with you, I was a little shocked at the warm reception. Pleasantly surprised, but
yeah, of course, it's great.
Yeah, we've got some news as well. Definitely some things to share and discuss. So yeah.
Good times.
Is it coffee mugs? Please tell me it's coffee mugs.
I have my mug, mate. I have my mug sitting right here next to me on my computer.
I'm a little wary of the shipping to Australia. Hopefully, it's not going to be too much.
It may be the exact cost of the mug itself, but yeah, well, if you're lucky.
The cost of the mug, so.
And by the sounds of it, you should actually wait to order it because it might change.
We're just going to add logos to it.
These mugs become classic.
Exactly. Yeah. Instant classics. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, and it was I think you'll really enjoy watching the broadcast because we got to see you in action quite a bit, and you had some fans out there watching on the
Oh, wow.
stream as well. Yeah, so you're actually growing your fan base. Maybe we could put some Josh Fitz Johnson merch out there on the store. Maybe we could build a brand.
Now
for
we're
you,
talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're
All
speaking.
right. Well,
Now, quick
All right.
question: do you go by Josh, Joshua, or Andy?
It's up to you, really.
Well, that
Josh
makes
is
it
fine.
easy.
I mean, I'm partial to
Andy's
Frank, but
fine. They're
okay,
all fine.
yeah.
Fidge is fine. Fridge
be-
also
you-
fine.
You could even
Fridge?
be, hey, buddy.
Yep. Keep it cool. All right. Lunchtime for me.
All right.
Good luck, guys.
Nice race.
Appreciate it.
Take
Thanks,
it
guys.
easy.
Have a
Later.
good
See you
one.
next week.
Just. Yep. Absolutely. Watkins Glen, scary stuff.
All right.
Well, there you go.
Last but certainly not least, Chris Herrera joining us back in the booth, and on a night when fuel strategy was going to play a factor, Chris maintained enough fuel in the tank to make it to the end. And we're very proud of him for
congratulations about that, I guess.
that. Very proud of him for that. But yeah, so podium position for you. Had a great battle. It looked like Edwin kind of got the drop on both you and Paul there, and it looked. I mean, I'll let you speak to it when you guys decided. Okay, it doesn't look like we're going to be catching him. So game on for P2. Talk us through what you saw there. And he's not here. Chris,
You're not coming through, Chris.
Is he muted?
I thought he wasn't
No.
laughing at our jokes because he didn't think they were funny, but
We're hilarious. It can't be
now
that.
he's deafened.
There you go.
Something happened.
Hey, Chris, you there? Well, let's pretend we know what he's going to say.
Yeah.
Say, it was great fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm a humble person.
Jason's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
all things Chris would say.
The league admins are awesome. The broadcast is just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a great impersonation. Keep going.
Yeah. Chris,
Oh,
good
yeah.
talk.
See, we said everything he needed to say.
Good chat.
Oh,
Oh, there
wait,
he is.
he's back. He's muted.
Oh, I can unmute him.
And in this quick moment, I do have to give a shout out to my coach for the in this league, the coach that I've been working with. Without him, I would have never done anything that I've done here in this league, and it's just the coaching thing is the best by far.
Good to hear. Good to hear. That's largely Pete. It's easy for us to come up with the idea, and then Pete really executed on it. So a lot of what you see, he put together.
Yeah.
The members we have here make it easy, right? We've got some of the fastest guys in the car on the service that are willing to bend over backwards just for the slight chance that they might be able to help someone find some pace or get more comfortable in the car. When you've got a group that's willing to pitch in like this, it makes the work light.
Yeah, and I forgot to say that. Yeah, it's Kyle Reed is my coach. What a guy, man! Actually, he seriously helped me. I was out to lunch, and all of a sudden, this guy comes in. And he's like, "Here's what you can do." It's oh, hey, this works.
I think anybody who's been considering it too. One thing that we talked about, don't be afraid to volunteer as a coach just because you don't feel maybe that you are the absolute fastest. Because I think one thing that we have discovered, and this isn't rocket science here, but sometimes you just have that little piece of information, that tidbit, that connection that can help somebody else out, even if you're not the one to go out there and execute it perfectly. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people can coach and make other people better, even
Or take
even
the
if you don't
note in
feel
the middle of the race.
yeah, or observe what other people are doing and being able
Sorry, I
to identify that, and call it out and help people work on it. So there's a lot of
no, true.
fast drivers that aren't maybe considering themselves prime coaching material, but I'm sure a lot of people, to your point, would appreciate the extra perspective and experience. If nothing else, a lot of times it's just the experience. I've seen that. I've done that. I think.
But
Chris is
also,
back in the
if you
interview.
try
Tony
to take
Walter's doing it. Anybody can do it.
The other thing to remember is if you're
Dang.
teaching someone else, you're also
Burn.
learning yourself. So that's always a very good point to remember.
Yeah.
See, Chris is there in the standby there.
Are you able
But
to
yeah,
talk?
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
Were you able to talk to him?
Career is still having some audio issues there. He starts to get presence, but still nothing coming through.
Mm.
well, I mean, if we can't talk to him, Chris, congratulations on your P3.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I mean, past series champion and in a hell of a race there for podium spot. Whew, man, this league, I'm telling you,
It's eating up.
it's this is a lot of fun to watch. By the way, let's not forget to big congratulations to Edwin. We're talking about how fantastic everybody's getting, and he was the class of the field tonight for sure.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
really just walked away with it. So yeah, let's not let that get lost on anybody. Just what a dominant performance he had tonight, and really good. I got to imagine people are going to Zapruder this a little bit because his pit times were just so much shorter, and how he
Yeah.
was able to do that. I know we had, I don't know if concern is the right word, but when you see somebody who is that much shorter on their pit times than the rest of the field, your mind immediately just assumes, nope, this is going to be a problem for him. But he made it work.
Yeah, right. I mean, to put that in perspective, a 4-second gap may not sound like much to folks that aren't used to getting in these cars week after week and knowing how much work it is to get back 4 seconds. It just give people an idea. I don't remember the last week that there was more than 4 seconds between the qualifying positions in the entire field
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
the last few weeks. So that is the whole field worth of cars. That's a massive amount to save just purely on fuel. That was spectacular.
Yeah. And as everybody keeps saying, week by week, everybody's getting quicker, everybody's getting cleaner. There's less, incidents, there's more racing going on. It's really amazing to see this thing going forward.
Well, gentlemen, it's been fun, and I look forward to Watkins Glen next week, which is always maybe not a driver pleaser, but certainly a crowd pleaser because of what do we call it? The Daytona or Talladega of the Skippy world there. But I'm looking forward to some good tight pack racing. I don't know if fuel is going to be a factor or not, but I think more importantly is going to be the off track stuff in the next week or two. Ian and I trying to get another podcast out, hopefully stand up the store. We'll talk more about this in the podcast because we are running just a touch late, but the
Just a touch.
USF 2K series, if you want to go check that out. There's a groundswell for other cars too. I think that's the future of the league. I think is anybody's guess, but what I think we've found is a group of drivers who, while we may not always agree on everything, it's a good group, and it's a consistent group, and everybody cares enough to at least have an opinion on things, which is, I think, the most important part. So I made a joke about how we're just going to basically create a new iRacing service at this point, but if there's interest for things out there, let's explore it as long as we can logistically handle it. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit. The last thing I'll do is we'll go down the list here. Final thoughts on the evening and the week moving forward, Michael.
I just wanted to say, I guess first is thank you for letting me be a part of the broadcast booth here. It's been a lot more fun than I thought it would be, actually. And
Hey, what are you saying?
well, no, I'm just saying, hey, maybe I'll stop racing and just broadcast. But no, I don't know. I guess week going forward, I guess I'm excited for this new track. I've never actually been on this one either, so I'm curious how this will go. And maybe next week I'll be a part of the SF1 race and see how that goes. And yeah, hopefully my wife doesn't kill me for the amount of time I put practicing towards this.
So
Just
say
tell
we
us,
all.
tell us
So
to
say
come and
we
talk to
all.
us. We'll talk to you about it. We're gonna set up a whole new section of the merch that says, SNS Widow.
That's a great idea, Ian. That just became a thing. So
There you
we'll
go.
figure that out.
Throw it up there.
See, now you know why they have me around.
The idea guy. All right. Well, hey, yeah, no, thanks though. Great race in the Skippy Formula 2 race earlier, and then just walking straight from that nerve-wracking experience and jumping right into the booth for your first time. So yeah, go sleep well tonight, my friend, and we will see you next week at Watkins Glen. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come join us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Take care,
And
mate.
Jason, what say you, my friend?
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, it was awesome seeing this race because I do think that it's the cleanest race we've had in 5+ seasons, and it's great to see that evolution.
Because it's the one you decided to not race in.
Yeah, I'm
Right?
starting to wonder. I am the common denominator there. So, but it's awesome to see. The safety tends to ebb and flow, and when it heads the wrong direction, we tend to get together and try to figure out, okay, what changed? What can we do to get this back on track? And if it's as simple as putting me in the booth, then so be it. For this upcoming week, I'm really excited about what's happening with USF2K. I think the response has already been more positive than I was at least anticipating. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. Yeah, that's all I've got. And thanks for letting me join the broadcast tonight.
No, we always appreciate your insight and just, this whole having people who know what they're talking about actually do the talking, to me, is just the bee's knees. So the more we can do that, the better. And I know that it's always tough. I think I got to imagine that the toughest part is watching a race as exciting as that, and there's got to be a little part of your brain that's like, man, I really wish I would have just been in the grid there tonight, but
it's tough. Plus, it's a good track. Obviously, it's an awesome group. But I can sit here and just touch up anything that Pete says. Sound smart along the way. That'll work.
Awesome, man. Well, we really appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you back on the grid next week at Watkins Glen, and I look forward to trying to race against you here at Donington in the USF 2K. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, I don't punt you.
That French term, is it? That French term in racing? Punt you.
Punt you. Speaking of which, Ian, not that I've punted you any recently at least, but what are your thoughts, man?
Well, I was just totally blown away with the accurate and particularly wonderful fuel strategies people were using in the SF2 race. I would like to thank publicly and sponsor the company that made the software that they were using. No, seriously, the race was pretty good. I pitted really early. I had a shunt and was just not competitive. I couldn't tell if the front of my car was busted or not, but I wasn't quite fast enough on the back straight. So I thought it must be. So I said, "Oh, just jump in the pits, grab a little extra gas," and that just worked out. I was able to get over the line before the car started to sputter, which was pretty amazing. So yeah, that was fun. SF1 race didn't go so well for me in terms of finishing position, but the race itself I really enjoyed. I had a long battle with a couple of people, which really taught me a lot. I hope I was doing it as cleanly as I could, but I really enjoyed the race, even though I had a bad result. But hey, them's the breaks. So we live and learn, and I'm looking forward to pulling together the podcast. Not sure when the hell we're going to get it done, but we'll get that sorted out. Jason, I want to pull you at some point in time and just do an interview with you. We'll grab the tape from that and add it into the podcast as well.
For sure.
And then we'll put that together and see if we can get it out, hopefully by the end of the week before the next broadcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Ambitious, I know, but we'll see what we can do.
Let's
Very
do it.
good. Well, yeah, glad it everything worked out, man, and looking forward to putting that together. We'll get the information out for everybody when we publish it, and it's pretty crazy that my voice is on my Apple Podcast app. I just got to be honest about that for just a second. That was really kind of weird to have it next to all my other actual podcasts. The league mentality pop up there.
Hell,
So
dude, we're on Spotify.
yeah, we're legit. We are legit. Something. Um, and finally, Pete, this was a heck of a race, and it was really great to have your insight on there because if there is, if I had to pick one person call the master of the strategy, there it would be you. Thoughts on the race? Thoughts on the week ahead?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be that guy for too much longer with how many folks are figuring out all the tricks. You know,
Right?
I mean that genuinely. Um, I think Chris kind of stole my thunder a little bit as far as what I was thinking. You know, he was bang on. We heard, from Jason rather. We heard it from multiple drivers. Chris, you picked up on it. Ian picked up on it. A couple of the folks that we just talked to in the booth picked up on it. This was sort of a special night as far as the quality of the racing and the maturity of the racecraft throughout the entire field. This is the first time that we saw all these huge packs still together, 35 minutes into the race, zero major incidents. As Jason said, the safety does kind of ebb and flow. I imagine, we probably won't expect it to be that clean every single race. We can hope, but unlikely. But having this kind of a race is really a testament to the entire premise of Sunday Night Skippy and prove that it works. I would have never guessed, even in the 2K World Cup, and in the other Skippy leagues. You get 40 cars at Imola. See, I did it again.
Yeah.
At Interlagos, right?
Ask
Or
Ian how that
Imola for
went.
that matter. We'll just segue into that one. Anytime you're getting 40 skippies on the track, no matter the skill level, to come out and have everybody clean is just amazing. So that was a really good look. Now, before I saw what this field is capable of tonight, I would have said next week is going to be an absolute dumpster fire, right? Because that is just it is just draft for days. It's slightly better than the what I call Watkins Oval layout that we did last season, where it's literally one single left hand corner. This is the cup layout for next week, which does cut out the boot, the actual technical section. So it is going to be very, very drafty now with the the quality of the finesse that we saw with people picking when and where and how to make their passes tonight. I'm really curious. I don't know which way this is going to go now.
Yeah, I agree.
Very good. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I usually don't like watching the broadcast back because I think my voice sounds like nails on a chalkboard. But that was some awesome racing. I think I'm gonna go back and maybe on mute, but just watch the race because I don't know that I've ever had a race that I enjoyed as much as watching as this one. And to your point, I super excited about Watkins because you always worry to some extent about the safety, and you hate seeing people having to I guess reevaluate their strategy because they get involved in an incident early, whether it's their fault or not. So um if we can keep this momentum going into a track like Watkins Glen and come out on the other side of that relatively clean, then I think the sky's the limit for us moving forward. But that's what I got. What a fun night. I think that the Formula 2 and Formula 1 race were both exciting for their own reasons, and it was just a lot of fun to call. I really appreciate all you guys taking the time out of your nights to come and do this with me. And I think I've already talked about all the things that I want to talk about for next week and the week upcoming. Just stay tuned on the Discord. If anybody's still watching and you're not in the league but family or friends, ask your favorite driver about the swag we got coming up. We're gonna have a little bit of an Etsy store situation here. We got 2 coffee mugs that were delivered successfully, and I do believe the finances worked out. So we'll be going live on that soon. and that's exciting because I get to drink coffee out of my SNS mug every morning now. And that's all I got. So from all of us here at the KVK Racing Network, we'll see you next week at Watkins Glen, and have a great night. Have a safe rest of your week.
Take care, guys.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.